if you've never been part of constant hardships, you don't really know how to get over them. It sounds weird. You kind of have to go through the mud to get clean and to get energy.
I don't think enough people understand that. And I know what you're saying is not, hey, friends, sweep it under the rug.
Hmm.
I believe that when you look at whatever the situation is, whatever the circumstances are, there's going to be a blessing or a lesson in here for you, maybe both. And it's what we're able to do when we reflect. Welcome to the Life by Design podcast. I'm your host, Kim Ward, a certified master life and business coach, NLP practitioner, and your guide to building a life and business that you absolutely love. Here, we're all about empowering family-focused entrepreneurs to design a leveraged business that supports your dreams, your values, and most importantly, your family. Each episode, we'll dive into practical strategies, mindset shifts, and powerful insights to help you create unstoppable momentum and lasting success without sacrificing what matters most. Whether you're looking to grow your business or get unstuck or align your goals with your lifestyle, you're in the right place. So let's get intentional, let's get inspired, and let's design a life you love by design. Let's dive in. How long do you let challenges and adversity keep you knocked down as an entrepreneur? Hey there, we're back with another episode talking about challenges and adversity because, as you know, as a human being, there's 100% guarantee we're going to get slapped with challenges and adversity along the way. Richard Ward, welcome.
Hello, hello.
We're no strangers from challenges or adversity, are we?
No.
So I was talking to a client this morning, and she's had this really big dream on her heart. And she was working with someone who didn't serve her the right way.
Hmm.
And she allowed the situation to really knock her down and not get back up for a long time. So this big thing on her heart, this big vision has been delayed and delayed and delayed. And we see this too often with people who allow the temporary seasons, the turmoil to come in and really knock them down and not get back up. So I wanted to kind of touch base on this today because I know you've got tips. I know I've got things to say. Why do we do this?
It can be hard. There's no doubt on so many different levels. Self-confidence and just your drive, your ability, and your desire to get up and brush yourself off and go after things again. That's hard, but it's all a mental mindset completely.
It is. And you know that I hate the term mind over matter. That just triggers me. I hate it, but it's true. So how do we develop that mental toughness where we're like, look, you know me, I mean, I'm a very strong person. And I say this to our clients all the time. I have broad shoulders. I can carry it, but it's only because I've personally been through so much trauma and so much pain that takes a lot to get to that level now. Not everyone is like that. And so for the average person, what needs to happen to develop that mental toughness?
Well, you kind of took it right out of my mouth. I was going to say, well, it's over time we go through all these many trials and tribulations, and we build up maybe not an endurance, but we build up a constant level of awareness to everything that's going on, good and bad. And if we pay attention to only the bad, the odds of us mentally getting over things is far and in between going to happen. And that's why you have to focus on the positives, little tiny positive notes, little tiny gains. And that's where you get your momentum back to take on the projects again that you want to do. It doesn't happen overnight, but it happens step by step. And I think that's the main key for that part. But when you go through
one of the biggest things I learned as a contestant on the reality show with Ray is that we learn in reflection, not in the moment. In the moment, we're emotionally charged. Our energy is so vibrating like at a fast pace. And when we step outside of that and we're able to look back and truly reflect and look at the situation, the season, where's the lesson or where's the blessing here for me, and take that. I think challenges and adversity, they don't have to be negative. I think it's a necessary part of sharpening us as human beings and even spiritual beings.
And you and I both have found out that usually before the next explosion, before the next big step, you're always hit from angles that you thought were gone or you thought were handled. And it's always going through the mud, like I just said, in trials and tribulations, that we get that blessing on the other side. And it always seems to go hand in hand. I can't say it never does not happen, I should say, but it's always that rough time before the blessing. And that's how you know things are coming. And we always said that, man, it's rough. There's something coming. And it's true. And people need to understand that.
And that's why we're having this conversation, because unless you have that like validation of you and I know, okay, it's time to hunker down. Let's
Mhm.
get through this. Because like you said, we know we can look back and say, oh my gosh, how many times have we said that was supposed to happen?
Mhm.
Or, oh my gosh, I'm glad that happened, because if it hadn't, this
This, yep,
wouldn't have happened. But
exactly.
truth be told, as well as I do, with our clients, with our friends, with people who just don't embrace it at this level, they allow that thing to knock them down and they stay down. They don't look for the blessing or the lesson or the opportunity to grow. So what I'm looking to pull out of you is like, how do we do that?
I love when you put me on the spot. We never talk about anything before we get on these things. How do we get out of the mud? Basically, you're asking?
Yeah,
Well, I mean, like I said, I think it's little steps, little positive portions in life that you have a board you want to achieve. And we've talked about the boards before, but these little tiny steps, before you know it, those little steps of being pushing forward, going through the mud, all of a sudden you get to the other side and you realize how much gains you've made. And you may not see it at that exact time, but one day you'll look and turn around, like you just said, and it's, oh my gosh, look what I've done. And don't concentrate on the big picture that failed, but understand that you have to go through failure to get that positive. And I know people have said that, but it is so true. Unless you go through the failures, you're not going to get to the gains. And it's just the tiny steps to motivate yourself. Wake up and I'm going to do this today. And it may be small, but it matters. It really does. It matters. And it changes your mindset without even knowing it.
for sure. You've got to go through it to get to it. Man, do I feel corny and cliche just by saying that.
That was pretty good,
Wow.
though. I like it.
You and I love the ocean.
Hmm.
So I'm going to ask you seriously, like imagine you're right there, you're on the shoreline and the waves are coming up on your toes and you're like, I'm in my swim trunks, I'm going for it. And you
Hmm.
start to walk out there and then a wave hits you and knocks you down. Have you ever been knocked down by a wave before?
Oh, yeah.
What
Oh,
do
yeah.
you do?
Get back up.
We get
Go
back
for it.
up and we walk through it to get to where we're going. It's the same thing. So when I was in Orlando, at Ray's Faith Over Fear event, I met a gentleman by the name of Dr. Casual Pitts. Super cool guy, super cool.
An interesting name.
Yes, him and I were gunning for the leaderboard on the app that Ray had,
Hmm.
his thing, because you know me, super competitive.
Hmm.
So I walked by. We didn't even introduce each other. I just looked at him. I said, "I see you coming for me on that leaderboard." He goes, "Are you Mrs. Ward?" I go, "Yes, I am." He's like, "What's up? Nice to meet you."
Hmm.
I didn't know the next day he'd be taking the stage. And he told this story about a young lady who maybe teenage years, maybe early 20s, really just felt knocked down, really
Hmm.
felt defeated in life. And she looked at her dad and said, "Dad, I'm done. I quit."
Mm.
And he said, "Okay, come with me to the stove. Come on over." And he put 3 pots of water and started to boil all of them. He said to her, "Get some potatoes, chop them up, and put them in the first pan." She did. They start to boil. Then he said, "Grab some eggs put them in the second pot of water, let them boil. And thirdly, grab some coffee beans and put those in the final pot. So what happens when we boil potatoes?
A mush, they
Exactly.
cook.
They become mush and
Mm,
soft. What about the egg?
same kind of thing, would assume. I
The
mean,
egg hardens, the shell hardens,
oh,
and
okay, I see what
it's
you're saying.
really hard to
Mhm,
crack.
right,
But then the coffee beans,
and I know
nothing
nothing
happened.
about coffee,
I know.
nothing.
The only person in history who's never drank coffee before.
Nope,
Now our listeners are going to be sending you bags of coffee.
I know, that's okay, that's okay.
I'll accept it on his behalf. I love Starbucks. So the coffee beans don't change. They change the water that they're in, and they completely change the environment. So you have a decision. You can be the potato and become mush and soft. You can become the egg and become so hardened that you miss opportunities, or you can become the coffee and choose
Mhm.
to not only not change, but change the environment around you.
Well, I
And
think go ahead.
no, no,
I
no.
was
I
just
just
gonna
thought that
say,
was so profound.
I was thinking about one thing when you were saying going over it, and it's very important to surround yourself with positive people. That's the key. If you've gone through a blow, the last person you want to meet is somebody who's depressed, who has no self-esteem. It's going to be a horrible situation, a horrible party for you. You know, surround yourself. Everybody that I've talked to that have made it in life, they surround themselves with people who know how to make money. And that also goes with positive attitudes. You surround yourself with people that have positive outlook in life. It's it's contagious, and you're going to start feeling that. You're going to start seeing it, and then you're going to create it. Without the right environment, as you were saying, you can't do anything.
Look at our 9-year-old, for example.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. It's
What
absolutely.
is her letter to Santa alone was like,
Mm,
it brought tears to my eyes.
yeah,
And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this girl thinks like someone who's been through it
mhm,
without having to go through
yeah,
it. And it's a testament to what you're saying. Surround yourself with those people. You've been in the industry long enough. If you're listening to this, obviously. And so you know that you are the sum of the 5 people that you surround yourself with.
mhm,
And it's really incredible. I'll share real quickly. I mean, she's 9 years old and she wrote this letter to Santa that said, uh, I'll summarize it, dear Santa, don't really want much this year, would love a new ATV, but if you don't feel like I'm ready for that, then don't bring it. I will
mhm,
be grateful for anything that you choose to bring. And it was just so sweet to see how her brain works. But friends, like how we share with you, whether it's here on the podcast, whether it's in our coaching and our mentorship, we lead by example. And that's why I'm so very transparent with you, is to show you we're not exempt from hardship. We're not exempt from turmoil or trials and tribulations, but it's what do you do? How do you get back up? Rich and I converse openly. We have very, very strong communication so that we kind of check the temperature and know where each other is at mentally. One of the things that I love when we were dating is I would ask you every single day. Do you remember the question? I would
nope, I'm still
ask
alive.
him, what was your high for
Oh
today?
yeah, yeah,
And what was your low for
that's
today?
right,
And
that's
that's
right.
because I really wanted to get to know how's your day?
Hmm.
What was the highlight and what was the sucky part so that I could be whatever I needed to be for you.
Hmm.
And I learned a lot about myself in the process because there were 98% of the time I was his high point of the day.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
the 2% of the time that I was his low point is because I did something or said something that I was like, Kim, okay, we got to shape up and fix that for next time because this is something I really want to invest in and I really want to work out. So here we are,
And
100
if
years later. We look good for our age.
yeah, I know, right? Oh, wow. You know, and you were talking about when we were talking about surrounding yourself with good people. I don't know if you remember, Adriana came home the other day and said that she her friends fought, the sisters fought, and they were trying to separate the class to decide who they wanted to be with. And I asked her, I said, what did you do? She goes, I just said I'm not getting involved in this, and I walked away. She
Hey,
goes, I'm not going to be dragged into that. And it's awesome. I
it is
mean,
awesome.
mm-hmm.
It
So
is awesome. So I want to give you a tangible tip that you can do. After Rich and I built the house that we currently live in, I went through a little bit of a depression just because our business now wasn't where I wanted it to be. And I had such huge goals and aspirations and whatnot. And I just remember thinking, "Okay, there's something called an affirmation. Are you familiar with affirmations?
I've heard a little bit from you about that. Yes.
So an affirmation is a positive statement.
Hmm.
So it's like, I am healthy.
Hmm.
I am, easily making $10,000 more this month than I was last month. And what happens is you start to build that positive reinforcement in your brain. Now, being an NLP practitioner, and if you come into mentorship with Rich or myself, we do offer those NLP sessions. But what happens is the brain is so smart, the subconscious mind is so smart that it will actually tell you, no, you're not, you're lying.
Hmm.
So if you start to say these affirmations, trying to trick yourself, the brain's like, no, 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 no. So there's something called an affirmation with an O. This comes from, I think, 1972, a gentleman named uh, John Kabat-Zinn. John Kabat-Zinn. He created affirmations that are a question form that only have a positive outcome. And so I never even told my husband that I did this, but every single morning when I woke up, I'd stand to my feet and I would ask myself, I would ask God, I would ask the universe, whatever this is for you, how can I show up more powerfully today? And there were moments that me showing up more powerfully meant get yourself in the shower. Like just take a shower. The shower changes your energy.
Hmm.
And before we knew it, not only was I showing up a little too powerfully, this is when our nonprofit was created. I was going to Nashville to meet with our Tennessee legislators. All these things were happening. I was like, okay, I can stop asking this question right now. But what's that question for you? And it's not a lie to your brain. You're asking a question that your brain's like, huh, how come I can't find the answer to this? So it goes on a quest where you start to hold your shoulders back, chin up, and you start to become the person that the brain is looking for that answer, and you step into it. So when those moments of hardship or challenges or adversity come, the flesh is still gonna reign, you're still human, but you won't stay down as long and as hard. And that's what we're trying to help you with.
Yeah. Ultimately, you have to. For me, out of all that, you have to stop blaming yourself if something doesn't go right. Maybe you couldn't have done anything no matter what you did. So it's not about what you did or didn't do, right or wrong. It's the way it is. And sometimes it's hard to understand that too.
I think that's where, like you were saying, just surrounding yourself with the right people.
Hmm.
Not everybody has the friends or the family that are non-toxic and supportive and all the things that you need to be. And like I said before to you, it's not an accident. It's not cliche that we chose the name Life by Design Solutions for our business, because to me, life by design is very possible for you. And it simply means making one good decision after another. And little by little, this starts to compound, and you realize, wow, look how far I've come.
Yeah.
And so this podcast is not a pimp fest for our mentorship, but what I will say is if you don't have that person, Rich, you of all people have been one of those rocks and those very, very foundational pieces, even in my own life, not just for our clients,
Mhm.
that if I have a rough day or if I'm getting out of a coaching session, I run it by you, and you
Mhm.
are not only that voice of reason, but give that fresh perspective of like, look, let's talk through this. And I'm like, oh, okay. It really helps to talk through things and work them out. So that's my long-winded way of saying you can visit the link that's in the description of this video if you'd like to talk to one of our team members and see what it would look like to come in under our wing and have some mentorship and just talk things through. And then journaling. We've talked about this before. Journaling is so important. Did they make you do anything like this at the fire station? Any kind of like personal development work?
Sure. I mean, every year, and when I first started the fire department, every year you would basically say kind of what you wanted to become, or where you want to go, or classes you want to take, and then different lieutenants, captains, whatever, would sometimes do a quarterly. Hey, where are we going? What do you want to do? And that would give the ability and give strength to the employee to go further because you have that support. So now you know how we can support you to create those goals. And it became more and more important as the years went on. We realized that it was making the department an even better department by achieving those goals and supporting the employees.
Why is that, do you think?
Well, I mean, if everybody's rowing the boat, then the boat's moving. It's going forward. If you're not part of the um, education, if you're not part of the process to become better, it kind of slows everybody down because it's contagious. If you see someone that's going to school and getting these certs, all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I want to do that, everybody gets lifted together, and that's the key.
So what happens? Like, how do we translate that if someone is a solopreneur? I'm working from home, I'm by myself in my home office all the time, and there's no one to row with me.
Well, I mean, that's where you get outside help. One way you get outside help. It's either people that are in the business, or um, people you can just see. Lord knows there's everything online, but you can see other people and maybe the path that you want to go. You see this person become a coach or whatever it may be, and you realize, you know what, I want to do that. And you don't have to be next to somebody or working with somebody, but even if you're following somebody or meeting with somebody, that's a great way of giving your own energy to it.
Yeah, I love that. I've been using the business Bible a lot. No, we're not affiliates or affiliated with it. This was just a gift. And there's really four categories to what the Bible calls God's economy, and it's family, business, government, and charities, philanthropy. And it's like what you're saying is why we go to our dry erase board every year. And I've already done the dry erase board for 2025, my
That's fun.
2025 vision. But it's like there's a massive domino effect. And you might be a solopreneur. You might be home in your home office thinking, wow, it's just kind of me. And it would be fun to have somebody to row with. And I look at that board and I think, okay, when we do more, we can be more. We
Mhm.
can tithe more. We can sponsor more. I won't go into all of the things that we've done just in our community because they're anonymous, right? They're like,
Yeah.
but we pay our taxes. So that funds the government, that funds our economy. And then the family were able to, we had a great weekend this weekend. We took Adriana on the Polar Express train, and me
Fun.
watching her eyes light up and her spirit just flow.
Mm.
And then me watching her,
Hmm.
an amazing environment.
It's
Those are
crazy.
things we're able to do when we get on board with what you're saying of like, have that blueprint.
Mhm.
And if you don't have the blueprint and if you can't create one for yourself, get with someone who can help you. We
That's right.
might be that person for you or those people for you. We might not be. Maybe
Right.
you're just a happy podcast listener. That's okay. Our job is done. If we can touch one person and help one person, then our job is done. So I was going to say the journaling piece can be that blueprint, like you're talking about. It's like the blueprint in the fire department is we're going to pour into you because we know when you're better, you make the department better, you make the
Absolutely.
team better. And so when you journal, I've said this before, you write with pen and paper, that activates over 6 places in your brain. We live in a very digital society, but I want you to know that when we're texting or when we're typing, we only activate 2 places in our brain. So there's a very real reason of why you still want to put pen to paper and solidify those goals, that vision, that blueprint. And like Rich has said, piece by piece, you just walk with one foot in front of the other. Take that step, take that next leap, and learn. Give yourself that space to reflect on the challenges, the adversity, the hardship, whatever it is you're going through, but don't stay there.
And give yourself credit for doing it. And the fact that you're already looking at how to become better, and I've said this before, if you're looking at how to become better, you're already halfway. If you're already in that mindset, I'm going to get better, you've already started.
But it takes time, doesn't
It
it?
does. It does.
I think one of the things that irritates me about our society as a whole is we live in such an instant gratification mentality.
Hmm.
So even when I'm teaching Pinterest, I see so many people come on board and they're like, oh my gosh, Kim, I never realized Pinterest was this tool and this is so cool. And they start to pin, but they're not seeing those results instantly.
Right.
They don't realize they're planting invisible seeds.
Hmm.
Those seeds need time, and the harvest is going to be there. It's promised,
Right.
but you quit before you even give it a chance. This is no different.
Hmm. I agree.
All right. Well, I'm glad we're on the same page.
Usually are. Usually are.
I love you.
I love you too.
Anything else you want to add?
No, you've always done a great job.
Well, thank you.
You always make me nervous every time you start asking questions. So
And that is what makes this podcast one of the best ones to listen to.
there we go.
So be sure you subscribe, save us. And if this hit you today, share this with a friend or save it for later. We're glad you're listening. We appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye now.
And hey, before you go, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. And as always, friends don't let friends grow and develop alone. So share this episode with someone you love and care about. We'll see you in the next episode.